So it's 2022, and here at gameranx, we're trying to make a better habit of finding interesting stuff for weird conversations and shining a light on stuff. Recently, we stumbled upon an open-world survival horror game from seemingly a small indie group that has been making some waves. Now with this, there's cool stuff here, but we're half skeptical and half intrigued. Let's jump in. The game is called Wronged Us. Now, during Games Radar's Golden Joystick Awards at the very end of 2021, they dropped a brief trailer where no one had really heard of the game and the studio, but we got something promising here. It's admittedly a rough trailer, but it shows off an experimental game clearly heavily inspired by Resident Evil and Silent Hill set in an open town. There's third-person, over-the-shoulder shooting, exploring a small spooky town, some decent Unreal Engine prettiness in places, and some pretty cool horror references and style and imagery going on. It's heavily filtered and in a apparently optional 4:3 aspect ratio, which is a pretty bold creative choice. Now, the actual trailer itself, to us personally here, comes off part like shocking, creative, almost art house horror, and half just like weird, unfinished game being made by like one person. Now, the developer of this is titled Delusional Studio. According to their website, they have a registered trademark for Wronged Us, but we really couldn't find anything else out there about them. There is another game studio with the word delusional in it, but this is not that. This is seemingly more of a solo endeavor. We did find one of the main developers is a Reddit user, so it is definitely a small project. And it still looks very early, and it's worth pointing out that the developers put out a statement with the trailer that says, just to let everyone know, the game is still very early in development. It has at least a year and a half of development left. This trailer was assembled from different builds or versions of the game to give you an idea of the game's atmosphere, settings, and what the gameplay will look like. Later on, they say, so things like character models and environments are placeholders for now and will look much better later on. Thank you for your support and your patience. Now, this is definitely the case. I mean, like, we know it's Unreal Engine, and at times the game looks insane, especially towards the end of the trailer. For every weird or not good looking moment in the trailer with weird lighting or bad character models, there's also a really cool moment. You know, you can see a conversation between two characters that just looks stilted and awkward, and then in the next shot, you see gameplay of the main character sneaking through a gross apartment with a scary creature in the kitchen. You see an awkward walking animation through a bare bones town, and then you see the downright spine-chilling shot of a headless couple standing on a hill. There's really creative imagery going on here in spots, and I think that's what has led to the positive reception in comment sections and stuff. You'd think people would be roasting this one, but it's not really the case. You know, this game does wear a lot of its influences on its sleeve. On its official website, they say they're inspired by Dark Souls, believe it or not. They say open world and NPC quest design is inspired by Dark Souls. You won't have any UI telling you where to go, whether you have started, finished, or failed a side quest. It's also inspired by Silent Hill in story, settings, and atmosphere, and Resident Evil has inspired gameplay and gameplay mechanics. So again, they're wearing their references on their sleeves. I mean, down to smaller stuff like the big tall guy in the doorway being a straight up reference to the underrated horror film It Follows. You know, the famous scene where like a big tall guy appears in the door and it's scary. You should watch that movie. It's weird, but the game seems to already know what it's trying to do here. Now, in this game, you play as a man named Isaac who goes to a town looking for someone. That's it. Straight up. Like, you can wander the town and seemingly talk to NPCs, and there's clearly some hostility or tension in the air. It's straight up Silent Hill vibes, and I think that's why people are receptive to it so far, despite the rough edges. You're a generic dude in a jacket, wandering through a sad, creepy town, searching for someone. If that's not Silent Hill 101, I don't know what is. Now, the atmosphere and the brief bit of music composed for the trailer seems like good stuff. Now, I do think this does still look more promising than anything, but if you're looking at this and you're like, what's the big deal? I don't get it. This doesn't look that good. I would say that I think there is just such a strong hunger out there for a new game similar to Silent Hill, or just a horror thing with a good story and good exploration. People are chomping at the bit. And at this point, I feel like they'll take anything. So this trailer was just kind of like a scrap thrown to some fandoms and they'll take it. As much as I think this trailer maybe was put out a little bit too early, there is something about the power of survival horror games. And while the genre isn't totally dead like it once was, we just don't get a lot of them, and definitely don't get a lot of special ones with weird stuff going on like we've seen here. But it's also worth acknowledging the elephant in the room. This game is in early development, and it might be by a very small group, and I am extremely skeptical of this stuff sometimes, especially in terms of overpromising, because of the blue box and abandoned situation. Yep, we're gonna bring that up. You probably wanted to forget about that, but for those of you that don't know, about a year or so ago, a studio called Blue Box was teasing a new game, and they seemingly came out of nowhere, and a lot of people thought it was like a weird viral marketing kind of publicity stunt by Hideo Kojima, which is something he's done in the past to make a game. A lot of clues just seem to conveniently line up, you know, whether it's coincidence or not. The studio leaned into it and embraced that weirdness and the clues and all that, and it led to people getting really excited and a lot of people's eyeballs on this game being made by a handful of people, to the point where it started to get messy for everyone. Eventually, the developers released an app on PS5 that let you view trailers for the game, and they put the first trailer in the app, and it's a 5-second clip of a dude walking across a floor. At this point, now that the dust has settled, it seems like a developer in over their head that went viral, and a bunch of people were picking this game apart and dissecting every little bit of information, and they just weren't ready to really show anything off yet. Now, you can argue whether or not they did that to themselves by engaging in the hype, but honestly, it seems like a lot of us learned our lesson for a lot of reasons, either going down a conspiracy rabbit hole of a game, or also just expecting massive things to come from every single thing that comes across your eyeballs on your screen when you're online. So like what I'm saying here is like, let's not let the hype get the better of us. I mean, yes, like we're talking about this random game in a whole video here, but we thought it was a good time to kind of debrief or detox from the abandoned situation. Wrong to Us could be cool. I really think out of anything here, some of the imagery they're going for is super cool, but I am not going to put all my chips in this. I'm actually honestly probably going to forget about this game for a year after making this video, and hopefully when the game is further along in development, they release a real genuine trailer and it blows people away even more. That's really all you can do at this point, but we thought it was a fun conversation. So let us know what you think of Wrong to Us in the comments. Are you receptive to games like this, where they seem a little rough around the edges, but ultimately creative? Are you down to play games by small teams like this? Do you think they released a trailer way too early? Personally, I think so, but let us know what you're thinking about this whole thing. If you enjoyed this video though, and maybe now you had a weird, cool new game on your radar, clicking the like button's all you gotta do. It very much helps us out. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.